Hey guys, so chapter 1012 of One Piece just came out. And there's a little bit of stuff happening in this one. No crazy like action for the most part, but a lot of cool setup for pretty much. If I were to sum up the chapter in one sentence, it would be uh, setting up matchups pretty much. We get a lot of those that aren't actually like set up in this chapter, or are at least teased for potentially happening later down the line. And starting that off, we get the very first scene in the chapter with the scabbards, picking up sort of where we left off with them. They were running after encountering Orochi, and Raizo stayed behind to combat Fukurokuju. Um, but we get a brief little exchange between Izo and Kiku. Izo's just worried about Kiku's roots. She has kind of an arm missing. Not that that's like a big deal or anything, but yeah, and she's kind of teases Izo back, saying that's nothing compared to how she felt when Izo left unannounced with Odin. So yeah, there's that little back and forth. But the two things that are kind of the big takeaways of this little portion is one that Kiku still has the desire to finish off Kandro herself, which that's interesting. I'm actually kind of curious as to why Kiku in particular is the one that seems so vehement on taking down Kandro, but I'm not against it because obviously she was the one to finish him, well, quote unquote, finish him the first time, and then he obviously came back. And when Ashura Doji was taken out, she was she had that look on her face like she was mortified, and she kind of blamed herself for not taking uh, Kandra out the first time. So now she obviously has a bit more motivation behind that. But also Nekomamushi passes Shishilian, and the monkey person that I forget the name of, Barriette is the name of the monkey. I'll definitely forget that in like 2 minutes, but whatever. He finds out about Pedro's death from Shishilian, because obviously he only just arrived with Marco just before the raid started, so obviously he was out of the loop about that, and Pedro was one of, if not his like top subordinate. So he's obviously kind of keen to take out Perospero now, after finding out about that. So that seems to be heavily applied to be his matchup, more or less, for this exchange. Which yeah, that's pretty exciting. Inarashi's going against Jack. He's going against Perospero. I think that's pretty solid. Obviously, Jack is a commander and Perospero is not technically, but I mean, from what we've seen, it seems like Perospero, it could very well be a commander. Obviously, he's a higher bounty than Snack, for example, who was another commander on that on Big Mom's crew. So he definitely has the potential to be a commander. So it's not like and not not that there's a specific like power leveling tier associated with commanders necessarily. Obviously, that's not a very standardized thing. There's a lot of variation between the strength of certain commanders, as we've seen quite a bit. Because Cracker, for example, is leagues below Katakuri, and and whatnot. But that's that. We get to matchups or potential future matchups teased in this chapter. They don't actually go face to face with either of them, but that's kind of implying that that's probably how it's going to go down. I'm actually interested to see, because obviously it seems like the past few chapters we have been getting 1v1 matchups for the Scabbards. I'm interested to see who the rest of the Scabbards are going to get, because it doesn't seem like there's that many people left, honestly. And if Kawamatsu or Izo didn't get 1v1 matchups, that's that's acceptable. Like, they're not like crazy, must have fights. But like Kinemon, for example, definitely needs to have a 1v1. I feel. Or Dendro. But obviously Orochi's out of the mix, or at the very least proven that he's not exactly a threat to the Scabbards. So that at that point I'm kind of genuinely out of ideas. Maybe they'll like help someone like tag team on someone. Like for example, I could see Dendro possibly teaming up with Frankie to take out Sasuke. Because we've obviously seen that Sasuke and Dendro were drinking buddies apparently. So they have that sort of history together. So that could be maybe a thing. But we'll have to see. But it's nice to see that they're actually getting 1v1s. They did just get swept by Kaido, and that's all their contribution to the raid. Um, but moving on, we also get a scene with Yamato and Momonosuke and Shinobu, during which the the major takeaway. Actually, there's two pretty good things. We see Momonosuke actively using again what I presume to be the voice of all things. Once again, being able to tell what Luffy is up to, or the battle between Luffy and Kaido is up to. And it might not be the voice of all things either. It might be that special brand of observation haki that like Aiza on Skypiea had, or Kobe had, where like you don't just like sense their presence, but you actually like sense their like inner voices or whatever. And I think the only reason I bring that up is because I think in this thing she says, yeah, he says, oh, there are two voices left on the roof, and there was like a similar thing with Kobe or Aiza, like when obviously those were very bloody arcs, in that there was pretty much Marineford. People were dropping left and right, and Kobe was like, "Ah, the voices are disappearing," and there's similar thing with Aiza going on in Skypiea. So, if not the voice of all things, he may have that brand of observation haki, possibly. Either way, that the knowledge that it's a 1v1 going on kind of pushes Yamato to finally go and help Luffy. So it looks like she is going to be involved with the battle with Kaido, which I'm excited for. I've personally up to this point kind of thought, well, up until a few chapters ago, I was kind of strong on the idea that it would be all the supernova currently on Onishima plus Yamato, and those would be the 9 shadows to take down Kaido. But the problem is, you had 5 of the 9 up there, but now 4 of them have left the roof, and I don't see a very. We're farther away from that goal basically than we once were. It obviously could still happen, but it's nice to see that at the very least it seems like Yamato is going to play some role in that fight. So I'm not entirely wrong with that sentiment. But who knows? But yeah, that the personal theory I had, or I guess it's not personal theory. I feel like other people probably had that too. But that seems less and less likely, at least the past couple of chapters. Especially since like Hawkins seems pretty hell bent on staying on the Beast Part side, and also Apu. Well, Apu maybe not. After getting treated like that by Queen, maybe that'll push him over the edge a little bit. But until then, it's too early to tell. And also from this scene, we get Momonosuke reading Odin's journal. I don't know exactly how what that's going to lead to, if anything. Maybe that'll just he'll see what kind of man Odin was and be more inspired to live up to his father's name or whatever. But that's the only real thing I can see coming out of that, unless there's like some specific information about something he found on Laugh Tale maybe, or something he read in one of the poneglyphs or something that has some sort of implications in this battle. But I couldn't say what that would be at the moment. So until then, we move on to the next scene, which is the the best Zoro and Sanji like dynamic scene that we've had in a good while. Obviously, that one scene where they saved Toko during Yasuie's execution was the first time they've been together in since before Punk, or before Dressrosa, at the very start of Dressrosa. Because obviously Sanji went and did his own thing, and then after, and then we got to Zoe, and then Sanji was obviously the only Straw Hat absent on Zoe. Unless you count Jinbei at the time, but that's whatever. And obviously Whole Cake Zoro was in Wano while we were dealing with Sanji and whatnot. and then we didn't get them together until that scene in Wano Act Two, and we did get a little bit of their dynamic towards the end of Act Two, where Sanji was kind of like, "Oh, your bounty's so low," because he's 10 million over him now or something. At which point, Zoro busted out Enma. But yeah, this is like the first. Other than that, which was very brief, this is the first like lengthy kind of scene we've got detailing Zoro and Sanji's relationship. And Zoro is quite literally just I don't even know how to describe it. He's become a cross of just straight bandages. Um, Law, despite using his own doctor prowess, for some reason left Sanji to bandage up Zoro when they shambles on top of him. And Sanji did a very makeshift job, but it seems to be working at the moment. Kind of, maybe, who knows? But he's kind of. But yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see if Zoro's out of the fight for the time being. Well, he's definitely out of the fight for the time being, but if he's out of the fight for the entire raid, I don't think he is. I don't feel like Sanji would just kind of be carrying him around if he was, and especially since they're actually heading to the festival hall. Zoro suggested Sanji that he goes there to give everybody some help, especially since two of the commanders are there. I mean, I don't know if Zoro knows that. I mean, obviously the last time he was in the festival hall, they were both still there. But that obviously could have changed. But he does suggest that he goes there, and it looks like they are heading there. So there are two doctors in the festival hall, both Chopper and Marco. So I could very easily see perhaps Sanji taking on Queen for Chopper, and Chopper dealing with Zoro, or alternatively Marco dealing with Zoro while Sanji takes on King, or something like that. Either way works. Or maybe both of them drop out and Sanji does a 2v1. I doubt that, but you never know. But they also get like a little thing where Sanji asks like, "Oh, how did you get this injured?" And Zoro's just like, "Ah, Kaido and Big Mom." It's like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense." Which is that usually I feel like if Sanji saw Zoro that injured, he might like pick on him for being careless or something, because that's obviously their dynamic. But this time it's like, oh yeah, well that makes sense. I can't really fault you there. Going up against two of the strongest, if not the strongest, characters in the One Piece world currently. At the same time, that'll do that to you. But there's also a nice scene where Zoro says Luffy's fighting Kaido 1v1 now, and he's like, he's gonna win. He has confidence that he's gonna win, and Sanji just says, "Well, obviously." And that's the end of that. So like, yeah, just another scene of them having confidence in their captain. I feel like we've had a lot of those scenes of people having confidence in Luffy. Just Nikishima, like when Frankie shot a laser at Big Mom, he told Nami, have faith in your captain or whatever. I forget what he said exactly. It might have been similar to Jinbei's line where he's like, if we're the crew of the future Pirate King, we wouldn't tremble at the sight of the Mirror Emperor. It was something similar to that, I think. And obviously Nami herself had that scene with Ulti, where she refused to badmouth Luffy, and was like, he'll surely be the king of the pirates. And now we're getting what's their face, Sanji and Zoro, believing that Luffy will definitely be able to beat Kaido. So yeah, there's been a lot of that in Onigashima, and I really can't complain. But on that note, we go to the final scene of the chapter, picking up where the last chapter left off. We see page 1 has just been completely flattened into the ground by Big Mom's little punch there. But what's her face? Ulti. I keep forgetting names for some reason. Ulti springs into action, going to attack Big Mom. And when she does, I should bring this up. Oda forgot to draw her mask in one of these panels when she first starts charging at Big Mom. And there's I can't really fault him for that. Whatever. And she just has like a normal face. There's nothing like hiding under the mask. Unless, but obviously this was probably a mistake since the mask is back on the next panel we see her in. So like he definitely wasn't intending to reveal the face there. So maybe there is something special under that mask that Oda is waiting to reveal, and he just possibly forgot, just like he forgot the mask. But that's weird. Like I'm personally a hobby artist, and I can't imagine like drawing like a character so frequently and then forgetting such like a key component of their figure of their like character design. Not that I'm faulting Oda, because like I'm sure it happens. In fact, if you draw a character more frequently, that might be more likely to happen. Um, but it's just like I find it funny how like it went through Oda like it's just funny that like you can draw it and probably you have to go over it multiple times. Like you don't just like start in pen, you've got to sketch it and then go probably have like a few layers before you actually like do the final inking. And you have like multiple chances to realize your mistake there. So I can't help but wonder how those sort of things happen, and they obviously happen in other shows, other manga too. Just recently in the recent chapter of JoJolion, actually I shouldn't say that because it's kind of a spoiler, so never mind. But there was in a recent chapter of JoJolion, there was kind of a mistake of that level there. But yeah, I just wanted to bring that up briefly. But she does just have like a kind of a normal face. Whether or not that's actually what's under the mask or not is debatable. But that's that. But yeah, Ulti springs into action. They're fleeing on Komainu or Komachio, the Komainu. I always get those things mixed up. And Ulti does her signature headbutt, kind of knocking him out and knocking them off the dog. At which point she just smacks Tama in the face. At which point we get a very cool scene where Nami kind of steps up and zaps. Well, actually, Big Mom also sees this and is about to go for ulti. But before she has the opportunity to, Nami takes a stand and says like, well, first she hits him with some sort of lightning attack, some sort of unnamed lightning attack, and then has this glare that I'm gonna beat this woman up. So yeah, at this point it looks like Nami is dedicated to her fight with Ulti. Obviously, Usopp and Nami have kind of been in this game of cat and mouse with Ulti and Page One for a while, but this looks like a very serious, confirmed, solid, concrete matchup where it seems like things are gonna start getting serious. But yeah, it looks like that's the thing, and obviously that makes sense from everything we've seen with Nami. She's very soft on kids. Even way back in Arlong Park, when even though she had that whole like facade of being the evil member of the Arlong Pirates, she kind of like spared that one kid who was calling her a witch. And even in somewhat, I say recent, but this is like 8 years ago now. Even in Punk Hazard, she was dedicated to saving the guinea pig children that were there and for the Caesar's gigantification experiments or whatever they were called. So yeah, so she's once again showing this aspect of her character, and obviously that's kind of spawned from her childhood, I would imagine. Obviously, motherhood plays a big role, so having this sort of motherly sense to children kind of makes sense. But yeah, I'm excited for this fight. Nami definitely seems serious about this, so yeah, I'm expecting great things from it. But yeah, Big Mom's kind of still there, so I'm interested to see how that will go with that kind of thing looming over him. Kid might arrive and take Big Mom's attention away, and also Law seemed to be heading toward Big Mom when he ditched what's their faces, Sanji and Zoro. So yeah, they might take Big Mom's attention away from them. But also Usopp, um, page one, we don't see him get back up. Whether or not he's fully taken out is yet to be seen. But that kind of leaves Usopp free at the moment. So I guess we'll have to see if he actually does get that 1v1 matchup versus page one now, or if he's gonna go fulfill some other purpose. While Nami gets her fight versus Ulti, or maybe they'll both fight Ulti 2v1. But the way it's framed at the end of this chapter very much gives me the impression that Nami and Ulti are gonna have a 1v1 fight at this point. But yeah, with that, I don't think I have anything else to say on this chapter. So with that, see ya.